Hello again. Remember in our last lecture we started talking about certification of security devices, in particular cryptographic devices. Let's talk about the certification of all the things which are not cryptographic devices. And there's a set of criteria which have been defined called the common criteria for this kind of evaluation. Now, the U.S. government has been doing this kind of certification for a long time, since the mid-'80s at least. And they had a set of criteria at that time which was called the Trusted Computer Systems Evaluation Criteria, TCSEC. And it was useful for that time. But the problem was all the different countries with which we interact were coming up with their own. And so it was hard for somebody to get a certification in the U.S. and then a different certification in England and a different one in Germany, and then produce a product which was acceptable to all of those countries. And so what these countries came up with was what's called the common criteria, meaning common among all of those signatory countries. Okay, so what is the common criteria? Well, it's a set of documents and a methodology for applying the criteria. And also, each country said, well, we're going to tweak it a little bit. And so the countries have what are called national schemes or evaluation schemes, which are country specific. And evaluations, the idea is that evaluations to a certain level by one country should be accepted by another country. So if you have something evaluated in the U.S., it's probably acceptable in England or in Germany or in France. At a certain level, countries stop accepting their own evaluations, the others' evaluations, and so they insist on their own at the very high levels of certification. Okay, so the common criteria, as almost any government document, has a lot of acronyms. And so, for example, they talk about the target of evaluation, that is the system being evaluated. The security target is really the policy. So that is the set of security requirements against which you're evaluating the target of evaluation. The EAL, or the evaluation assurance level, is sort of the grade that you get. How certain are you that your target of evaluation and your security target actually coincide? That is, that the artifact that you've built actually meets the security policy. Well, you might evaluate it just by testing it, and that would be a low evaluation level. Or you might do very structured testing, or you might do even formal proof, and that would be a high evaluation level. So the evaluation level tells you how much work you've gone to guarantee that your artifact actually meets its policy. And then finally, the TSF, or the TOE security functions, that's the set of functionality within the system which actually implements the security policy, or enforces, I should say, the security policy. Okay, so under the common criteria, there are two different things which you can have evaluated. And over the next few lectures, we're going to look at examples of both of those, but let me tell you what they are. Well, the second one there is the evaluation of a product. That's what you would expect, right? So you build, for example, a firewall, and then you can take it to an evaluation lab and have it evaluated to see whether it meets the claims of security that you have put forward. The other thing, which is a little less tangible, is something called a protection profile. And what a protection profile really is a document describing a security policy or a set of security requirements for a particular class of systems. So for example, you might decide that a firewall should have certain security properties and enforce a certain security policy. Well, you write that up and you submit that, and then it's evaluated, and then subsequently somebody who actually builds a firewall can come in and say, I want to have it evaluated with respect to that notion of security. Okay, so as we said, a protection profile is a description of a class of products and a security model or policy for those. And so what you do is you submit a document which has these various chapters, essentially, and that gets evaluated. So some examples of that are here at the bottom. For example, antivirus on workstations. You might write a document which you think, somebody who's building an antivirus system might want to use this as their policy, essentially. or biometrics, or firewalls, intrusion detection, operating systems, public key infrastructure, a trusted database. And so there are a number of these, and now after they get evaluated and they're on the shelf, then somebody who builds a particular artifact can come in and say, I want to have it evaluated against that particular protection profile. Okay, and the other thing that you might have evaluated is your product. So you build a particular product, say a firewall or an operating system or something else, internet filter, and you have it evaluated, possibly against a protection profile. Once again, you have to describe all this in a document which is somewhat more elaborate, and so you've got an introduction and a description of your target of evaluation and so on, and a rationale why you believe this to be the case. And included in this set of documents is the evidence that you're providing that your artifact that you've built actually meets its security policy. And that evidence determines what evaluation level you receive. So for example, if it's just testing, that might be EAL1. If it's formal proof, that might be EAL7. Okay, so what have we said? Well, the need for these, an ability to evaluate these systems led to a bunch of different countries to come up with their own evaluation criteria. And then they decided, wouldn't it be better to have a common criteria? And that was adopted in the early 90s and has been accepted by currently 26 countries or possibly more now. The two kinds of things which you can have evaluated under the common criteria are, one, a protection profile, which is a description of security for a particular class of systems, or you can have evaluated a particular product or family of products which you've developed, and that could be evaluated against a protection profile. Thanks.